Am I audible?
Yes, Amna, you're audible.
All right. No, nobody has answered yet. I think I should start. All right. So today we are going to have. I'm Amna Shahzadi, and I am founder of the Global Dynamic. Today we have a really important topic, very relevant, given the ever increasing destructive aspect of climate change, and we also know that how with increasing time we can see the international negotiations on climate change are becoming more and more important. So we will talk about youth leadership in climate policy, and we'll also look into how youth can play a leadership role in shaping pre-COP agendas for 2030. Right. So before that, I know that how many people are there? 70. Most of you would have an idea about climate change and about COP, Conference of Parties, right? I am here to just give you a basic idea before we start today's session, before we welcome our speakers. Before handing over the stage to them, I'd like to just quickly tell you about what COPE is, how serious climate change is, and how important today's session is, right? How important the role of youth is in this regard. All right. So if you have any questions, you can write your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to answer all of your questions. So we'll start with some basics. The first basic thing, which most of you would know, is climate change is a serious problem. It's a threat to planetary security. It's an existential threat. It's a threat to the survival of human beings. I'm sure all of you know this. It is very basic, right? So it's a problem, it's an issue, it's a threat which all of us are facing today. And it is going to escalate more, it is going to become more destructive if we do not combat it, if we do not tackle it properly, right? The second important basic thing to know about the climate change or tackling with the climate change is that each and every individual climate action counts. It is important. If you are planting a tree, if all of us plant a tree in our community, in our society, I'm sure we will be able to make difference. We will be able, at the end of the day, if we sum up the efforts that we all are putting in individually, we're going to successfully create a big change, right? But the point which I want to focus today is that climate change cannot be tackled or resolved in isolation, right? So you have, please do not misinterpret it. You have to play your role as an individual, and each one of us has to play a role as an individual, as the member of the society, right? But when it comes to talking about climate change cannot be resolved in isolation, I mean the states, the international states, the international community. There are a lot of states in the international community, right? And the states have to take proper actions individually as well as collectively, right? So let me give you an example. All right, so let us take an example that the entire world is facing the climate change as an issue, as a threat to their survival. But imagine it is just a supposition, and it can be any state, right? I am taking example of Pakistan because I hail from Pakistan. Suppose that, and you can assume it because it is just a supposition, right? Assume that there is just one country in the world which is trying hard to combat climate change. It is doing all in its capacity to deal with the climate change, to tackle the climate change. It's doing everything to fulfill the obligations, all the agreements that it has signed, that it has concluded with the international community, right? And the rest of the states in the world, they do not actually worry about it. They do not work on combating climate change, on tackling climate change. Just it's a very simple question. Just you have to think about it. Even after putting in so much efforts, would Pakistan be able to repel the devastation which climate change brings to the world? Even after doing all in its capacity? No, we won't be able to do that, because our local action or our state level action are going to have a minimal impact if they are in isolation. If they are just absolute actions which are taken in the entire world, they are going to have a minimal global impact. I hope it makes sense, right? So when it is about tackling climate change, the point I want to highlight is, I want to make over here is that it is important for the entire world to collaborate. Everyone takes action, every state takes action, and then we come up with a big climate or a big collective action taken by the entire international community to combat climate change. So this is only the possible way to combat climate change and to bring about real impact in the world, right? So moving forward, let me first, I hope you have understood the point that cooperation in international community is important to combat climate change. Without this, we are not going to have any guarantee to save our planet, no matter how much efforts we put in, right? So we have already developed networks. We already have the channels at international level, multilateral fora at international level, which are collaborating and where states are negotiating to deal with the climate change, and collective actions are being taken, right? So uh, if you have an idea of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, it is probably the first convention or treaty which was drafted on climate change, and it is what initiated the international climate change discourse. And almost 197 states ratified that convention. And now the purpose of that convention was to provide a framework to form an international climate regime, to provide the states with the directions and outlines at how they can combat climate change, how they can, achieve the desired goals. And even before that, it set the targets for the international community, for the states to curb their carbon emissions, to control the greenhouse gas emissions, right? So under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, there have been a lot of conferences which have taken place among the states. So uh, the, the first, the two major changes or agreements or protocols which I would like to highlight over here is the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. Now, these three, when combined, they form international climate regime. Now, the question is, do you know what is international climate regime? International climate regime is the combination of these three. You can say framework protocol, arrangement or setup, and this is what actually is decided by the states in the international community, and this is a kind of instrument which guides us on developing our national policies to contribute to the international climate action, right? And how are they related to COP? Because we were talking about COP, Conference of Parties. So Conference of Parties, uh, most of us know about COP, but we don't have, if I, because I asked you guys to write in the chat box where you are from. I mean, you're university students or you're in your first, second semester. If you are experts or you have read on climate change, you would have an idea of COPE, but let us simplify it. COPE is the Conference of Parties, and parties mean the states which have ratified, which have signed the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, right? So all the countries which had signed UN Convention on Climate Change, they are now parties to this convention. They are parties to all the agreements or the protocols which are concluded under this convention, and they sit together, they negotiate, and they finalize how are they going to combat climate change. Um, and they set the targets, they set the themes for every year almost. So how Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement are linked to COP? So basically, they are the outcomes of certain COPs. Like Kyoto Protocol, it was concluded in COP 3, right? And then the Paris Agreement, it was concluded in COP 21. And most of them, I don't know most of them, if you have an idea or you have been in this field for long, but I got to know about COP personally in 2021 when I was in university and I was being taught climate change. And then after that, I started working with some ministerial bodies to work on climate change or COP. So the point is that there have been a lot of COPs which have taken place since 1995. 1995 in Berlin, first COP took place in Germany. And after that, 28 COPs have taken place. And this year we are going to have 29th one. And all the conferences which were held between the states, which have held between the states until now, they had specific themes to focus on. And as I've already mentioned, that two were the major ones, Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. They had set certain targets, and they had set certain ways, and they had formed certain provisions for the states to follow to curb the carbon emissions, to curb the greenhouse gas emissions. And there are a lot of details on what these agreements are about and all. You can take the screenshot of this slide as well, so you can get an idea that all the conferences which take place, they have a specific focus, they have a specific theme, and they work on very particular area, and they all at the end ultimately contribute to the international efforts to combat climate change. Now, this is the other debate, how much impactful they are, how much successful they are. So this is something different, and you have to do it, you have to find it by yourself after going through the literature, after understanding the idea of COPE. Right? And I hope that now you have an idea of what COPE is, right? What is COPE, and what is its purpose, and what is its significance? Now, the point is why I am delving into COPEs, simply because these are the conferences which are happening every year, which are taking place every year, and youth from all the countries, from all the parties to the treaty, is participating in those conferences. Every year, a delegate from Pakistan, a delegate from India, a delegate from the rest of the countries is going to the United Nations. They are participating in the conference, and they are playing a role in shaping the future direction, in shaping in outlining how we are going to work towards combating climate change, and what specific focus we are going to have for the next year. Right? And then there is a second question, that why are you here? And this is a question for you, and you have to answer it to yourself. You may answer it now, or you may answer this question to yourself at the end of this session, because I hope if you are here, you would be able to learn something new from experts. We have amazing speakers today. You are definitely going to learn from them, and you will then answer that why were you in this session, and what can you do after attending this session, and taking on a leadership role in tackling or combating climate change. All right, so towards this session, we have a speaker today. Let me first welcome our first speaker. All right. We have Miss Myra Sheikh Qureshi with us. Miss Myra Sheikh is Qureshi, a textile engineer with 3 years of experience as an assistant manager in product development. She is a Precious Pearl Award winner and lives by the motto, "Make yourself the reason to smile." Ms. Myra is actively involved in various sustainable development goals projects, serving as chairperson of RBC at the Textile Industrial Advisory Board and director of ARF Savior Squad at the Abdul Razak Foundation. She also leads the Clean Pakistan, Green Pakistan project and is a Movers Envoy in United Nations supported Movers program. Recently, she was named Best Star from Pakistan by the 1 Million Leaders Asia program and selected as an OMLAS Fellow for 2024. Over to you, Ms. Maria. Ms. Myra.
Amna, I'm sorry, Dr. Taiba is here. She won me first. Okay, Dr. Taiba.
All right, please give me a minute, Shiraz. All right, I'm sorry, Dr. Myra is not here with us. We have Dr. Tayyaba with us. She's working as a director of medical services and leading a digital healthcare system. An innovative idea implemented at empaneled public sector hospitals for the poorest of the poor society. She's a passionate physician with extensive experience in family medicine, internal medicine, dermatology, and healthcare administrative post. She is empathic and professional. She has an empathic and professional attitude committed to providing patients with best care possible. I had this intro at the moment. Please, Dr. Taiba, the stage is open for you.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here as a health specialist and panelist for this critical session on youth leadership in climate policy. I want to express my happiness in seeing panelists from around the world gather here today. Together, we represent our diverse voices and experiences, united by our commitment to addressing one of the most pressing challenges of our time, that is climate change. I want to thank the organizers for organizing this gathering of climate champions, and I praise all of you, young environmentalists, climate activists, and stakeholders for your dedication and resilience in tackling these complex global issues. So, guys, as we prepare for COP29 and its objectives, it's essential to recognize that the impact of climate change extends far beyond environmental concerns affecting our society and healthcare system. Every decision we make and every strategy we discuss today will ripple to communities, affecting public health, access to resources, and the well-being of populations worldwide, especially the most vulnerable among us. So let's take a moment to consider how climate change directly influences human health. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, climate change is already responsible for approximately 150,000 deaths annually, a figure that is projected to rise significantly if we do not take urgent actions. Rising temperature contribute to heat-related illness, leading to thousands of premature deaths. The WHO estimated that heat wave causes around 166,000 excess deaths from 1998 to 2017. We are witnessing more frequent and severe weather events that endanger lives globally, with about 45% of people living in cities potentially exposed to extreme heat by 2050. So moreover, climate change contributes to the spread of infectious diseases. WHO data showed that over 1 billion people are at risk of vector-borne diseases like malaria and dengue fever as these pathogens expand their geographic reach. The incidence of dengue fever has increased dramatically over the last 50 years, with reported cases rising from 550,000 in 2000 to over 5 billion in 2019. So, a pressing example of climate and health interconnection can be observed in the recent smoke crisis in Punjab, Pakistan. As winter approaches, the dense fog has enveloped cities like Lahore, leading to harmful air quality levels. The Pakistan Meteorological Department has indicated that this poor air quality is largely due to the combination of agriculture burning, industrial emissions, and urban vehicle emissions, factors worsened by climate change. Reports indicate that air pollution in Lahore this year has reached alarming levels, with air quality index readings rising above 400, categorizing the air as lethal, harmful. This has resulted in significant increase in respiratory diseases, with hospitals seeing a surge in patients suffering from asthma, bronchitis, and other pollution-related health issues. So the health impact of this smoke is profound. According to the local healthcare providers, the spike in pollution levels correlate with an increase in emergency room visits due to the respiratory distress, resulting in both short-term health crises and long-term health conditions. Now, let's shift our focus to the youth, the leaders of tomorrow and the change makers of today. Your voices are vital in shaping pre-COP agendas for 2030. The decisions that will affect the planet and especially the public health profoundly depend on your willingness to advocate for the comprehensive climate policies that prioritize health and human well-being. You have the potential to eliminate the links between health and climate change. Through innovative solutions, you can push for the policies that not only reduce carbon emissions, but also enhance public health. This includes advocating for the Clean Air Initiative, sustainable agriculture practices that prevent food insecurities, and urban planning that creates healthy environments. So what could be the strategies for climate change mitigations? So as young leaders, I encourage you all to focus on several key areas. That could be advocacy for green policy. Use your platforms to call for policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. According to the IPCC, limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius would save millions of lives by preventing climate-related illness and deaths. So community engagement, mobilize your communities to understand the health impact of climate change. Host workshops, lead discussions, and create campaigns that highlight how climate change can lead to the healthier populations, different actions. For instance, in Pakistan, advocacy for cleaner technologies and a reduction in agriculture smoke could markedly improve air quality and eventually our health. Research and innovation. Your fresh perspectives can drive innovation. Engage in research that connect climate actions with health outcomes. For example, the WHO estimates that the implementing measures to combat climate change could prevent around 1 million deaths each year by reducing air pollution alone. So there is the global collaboration. Climate change knows no borders. Collaborate with youth from different cultures and regions to share ideas and strategies. Learn from one another's experiences and successes, and strive for the global climate initiatives that include health and environmental sustainability. So, however, the youth cannot do this alone, as we know. Institutes, policymakers, and stakeholders must play their part. It is important that we listen to and amplify the voices of young leaders. Policies needs to integrate health considerations at every level. ensuring that as we tackle climate change, we are also safeguarding public health. Engagement in intergovernmental processes like COP provide a platform to bridge the gap between the environment and health priorities. Together, we must advocate for national and international action that prioritize both climate and health. So, as my concluding remarks, as we move forward into the discussion and debates of COP29, remember that you, as a youth, have the power to drive meaningful change. Your passion, knowledge, and dedication can shape not only the climate policies of tomorrow, but also the health outcomes for the millions. In closing, let us commit to a future where climate action is equally important with the health improvement. By taking bold actions against issues like the recent smoke in Punjab and advocating for sustainable practices, you can ensure that our fight against climate change is also a fight for the better public health. So thanks you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taiba, for the insights. Now we have another amazing speaker with us, Mr. Talha Tufail Bhatti. He is, am I audible?
Yes, Samna, you're audible.
All right, there was a distortion. I think Doctor's mic is on. Dr. Taiba, could you please mute yourself? All right, so we have another great speaker with us, Mr. Talha Tufail Bhatti. He is a research officer in a Strengthening Climate Resilience program at the Institute of Regional Studies, Islamabad. His core interests are climate resilience and environmental governance policy, and he holds analytical skills for regional and global climate dashboards. Previously, he published 3 research articles into international journals like Fuel, Environmental Management, and Science of Total Environment, investigating applications of nanotechnology and smart agriculture, and co-authored reports for multilateral donor agencies. Sir, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for such a kind introduction. And Assalamu alaikum. Hello to everybody around the world. And namaste to my Indian counterparts. Welcome to on board with us on this day. So, Amna, just let me know if I can share my slides share here present now. If I can do that, that would be really, really good. Thank you
Sure,
so
you
much.
can, sir. Yes, sir, you can, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the entire screen and just let me know if well, I cannot put the option onto this. Can you please check it? My
Sir,
option is not
you don't
there.
have to share your screen?
Yeah, I want to share my screen with you just to present what I
All
can,
right, sir.
but the share option is not getting on.
All right, sir. Let me make you co-host, please.
Until then, my name is Talha. As is mentioned, I'm an environmentalist. I'm from Pakistan, and from the past 7 to 8 years, I'm working in regards to climate, into environmental science and climate services in respective. In my academic time, I usually worked on the environmental applications, and now I'm working for Ministry of Foreign Affairs on as a research officer on a strengthening regional climate resilience program, where I look after this whole region: Iran, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and the Indian Ocean side. And I usually look after the global trends to find out the commonalities into the regional ones and how we can move together into the future, which is very uncertain and very because we do not have those averages which we believed in the last 180 years were credible for us. Now the things have been changed into a manner where we cannot even imagine what kind of future we are holding in the next 5 to 10 years. So in that regard, Amna, if it's workable, then can I share?
Sir, actually,
And
you're already a co-host. Maybe there's an
okay,
issue at your
can you
end.
see my screen?
You can
Can
share.
you see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen
Okay,
now.
okay. Let me just go through straight to the presentation. And yeah, let me know if you guys can see this. Okay,
We can see blank screen.
you can see a blank screen. Okay, just uh, I think now can you see this?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. So, as I mentioned, the things which are getting done in the last 180 years are very horrible in that sense, because now we have a credible evidence that back in 1952 we have left the Holocene. Most of you who are familiar with this term is like the last 12,000 years, which we have seen in the human history, and where we developed our civilization, or the moral codes, or everything we know around us is actually developed. But the last 180 years are actually very alarming for us, because we have changed the Earth atmosphere to 1+ degree, because the average is more than 1.2 degrees on a global scale. So these things are very alarming. I mean, when we change certain things, the planet Earth have multiple stable states, as we know from the scientific evidence that forest can turn into savanna, then turn into desert. It have a multiple stable states, but for us, we are compatible to only this precise temperature limit which we have today. But in the last 180 years, these things have been changed. So for today, we are united in science, and we're going to talk about Agenda 2020-30. My name is Talhat Felbeti, and I look after the program which I've just mentioned, and I work for Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Pakistan. As you can see, the upper side of this slide, there is a logo, and that logo represents my area of interest, where I look after, because I feel like climate change is a global problem, but have a regional and common solutions, which we can put into the system. But before that, let me just show you the timeline of the humanity on the planet Earth. If we start back in 4,000 years ago, we can see a lot of changes which are happening, but these changes stayed limit into +2 degrees to -5. Now, this variation is the limit on which the planet Earth have been working from the last 400,000 years. And this is the limit which are known to these things on the planet Earth, or the species, or the biota, or whatever we know exist on the planet Earth. And then when we look after the last 20,000 years, then in last 12,000, we have the stable state, the green zone, as you can see in the middle of the slide, that at this zone, there is a credible systematic pattern which we observe. And because of that, we have these weather systems and everything around us, as we know. But in the last 180 years, after 1950, the Industrial Revolution, we have came into a process where we are losing the control on the Holocene, and specifically from 1950 to 2020. That is the time of the great acceleration. Just a fact, I'm quoting Financial Times here. They quoted that in 1950, the global GDP was around $9 trillion, and by 2020, it was around $133 trillion. We call it the time of peace, but at that time, the earth was slaughtered into a manner which we can't even imagine, in the name of development, in the name of progress, and all we know is the developed and developing world. The ping is the main problem, the pathway is the main problem. And because of that pathway, we actually exceeded the limit of these planetary systems, and we came to know that 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries are not in the safe working limit. And because of that, climate change is one of them, and the biological side, the
Talha,
other sides are other.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the screen is not sharing. Like we are seeing only the first slide, and it's
Oh,
not in
okay.
presentation mode. If you can put it in presentation, it's gonna be like,
It's it's in the presentation mode, but I don't know what is
because we are seeing
in
just
the
like the PowerPoint outside the presentation.
Do you see, is it in the presentation mode now? Do you see it?
No,
Like,
it's
can you see
just
the
in
change?
PowerPoint mode.
Okay, okay. Just give me a
I
minute. Thank you.
think
Thank you
it is
so much for
visible
reminding
here.
it.
It is visible. We can see the slides.
You can see the change of the slide too?
We couldn't see it before, but after you reshared your screen, we could see that. Could you please do it again?
Can you see it now? Can you see the movement of the graph?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna not divide time. It is actually what I told you in the past, because the last 180 years are the most crucial period which we have with us, and these are the changes. These are the data visualization which I can represent to you, which can explain the change after 1952 to 2020, because that is the year which is the main focus I'm going to put. The agenda of today's presentation is United Science and the Agenda 2030. So I was talking about the last part, the great acceleration side, that in the last 70 years, we have done something which were known to us. What I feel like back in 1950, we reached to the planetary system limits, which we know as the planet works. But after that, due to hydrocarbons, due to fossil fuel industry, pumped every energy into the system and expanded it to the level where it can be. And because of that, we actually increased the GDP of the global world from $9 trillion to $133 trillion. And that is where the part comes in. That is where the main crux of the problem comes in. And because of that problem, we actually emitted so much of energy or a heat into the system that 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries are not working in the safe working limit. And climate change is just one of them. There are other parts, there are biological losses which are non-recoverable now. They are becoming irreversible into the nature. Why I'm saying this? Because in the last 15 years, they were the hottest and ever recorded into the sphere. And everybody knew about it. The things we have seen in the last 15 months are horrible in nature and biblical in size and impact. And why I'm saying this? Because recently we came to know that 2024 is the warmest year ever recorded, is going to be the warmest year, and you can see the change. We have already crossed the limit of 1.5. If 1.5 is no longer alive, I'm so sad to say this, but it is not alive anymore, because the things we are moving forward are not very credible. The indices we have all around the world are capping the carbon emissions by 2 to 3%. But as we know from the last COP28, the 43% emissions needs to be capped. So that is actually not happening and not going to happen. We have to realize this in this short period. Why I'm saying this? Because the consumption is alarming at the alarming rate. In the entire 20th century, we have consumed this much of it. And within the 6 years between 2016 to 21, the time of the Paris Agreement, we have these kind of disastrous emissions. And we have to look after for each other, and that is the only way we can move forward. And that is my message to my counterpart to Indian side too. We have to look after for each other, because if we want to survive in the longer run, the differences are there and they will be there, but there are some systems which we cannot deny the factor of understanding, because we cannot survive without these things. So if we talk about the strengthening regional climate resilience, the South Asia Pacific, we have a certain precipitation, intense precipitation to our both sides in Pakistan and India. In this year, in every year, we have faced floods. In every year, we have faced such a disaster in Nepal, and Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. We have faced droughts, and we have faced monsoon precipitation to the level which we are not known to us. Even the heat waves are lethal now. Only in this year, there are 150, more than 500 dead bodies which are collected from the ED Foundation in Karachi only. This is a one mega city. I'm not talking about Delhi. I'm not talking about Mumbai. I'm not talking about Lahore. I'm not talking about Multan. There's only one city in which these things are happen, and all across these are things are happening all across the 8 countries, and that is why it is very important to look after this golden region which we have, what we call HKH region. Hindu-Kush-Himalaya region is the lifeline for this region, and we have to preserve it as a global South common. And every country should work into that direction. Every country youth should promote this idea that this HKH region is the common land for our survivability and for the intergenerational compatibility for this region. And why I'm saying this, because if you look at this map, most of the vulnerable regions are where the technology is not developed, they are underdeveloping, and they're trying to maintain their own resources within their own limits. But due to certain cycles, we are impacted on a larger scale. And the country I'm talking about is Pakistan, and we are the eighth most vulnerable country. And right now, we have a disastrous impact of smoke around us, and that is also happening for the flaws of our own things, like we do not have very fine refineries, and we allow old cars to be workable into a manner. But still, this is not done by us. There are certain other big elements which are working onto a manner which are still emitting a lot of carbon emissions into the system. And according to emission gap report, which is published this month or even the last month, that they quoted 57 gigatons of the emissions per ton. So that is alarming. So we have to be united into the science, because the science is actually very clear. Regardless of whatever differences we have, the science is very clear, and we have to stick to the science. And science is telling us that emissions are highest to ever recorded, and the temperatures are highest ever noted in the 180 years or even 400,000 years. So we have to maintain this understanding that natural science and the social science have this capacity to work together with the technology and the innovation to achieve those goals which are necessary, and youth is very aligned to it. So in policy or in the activism or in the advocacy, you have to look after that. Apart from it, there is a certain element of artificial intelligence, which I believe certain revolutionized the weather forecasting system. Because if you look after from 2019 to 2024, in Asia and in Africa, the agencies which are climate services are increased into a manner of multiple folds. So that is a good sign that we are working on those things. But we need new information systems, new sensors, satellite images, which we can harness, collective data nest, which can be done. Because only resilience can be only found by transboundary in a transboundary manner, not in a singular manner, because no country is capable of doing it. So we have to contribute, we have to work together, and we have to achieve those things, and we have to put early warning systems into those areas which are needed. And collaboration is the key. So my message is to you to look after the planet, people, and the place. The planet, because we have to reshape the financial and governance system for the people and for the planet. We cannot work like this. The example is very clear. The development model we have, the capitalist development model, which is resource hungry, is not going to up. You can see the greenwash regarding the electric vehicles or the resources or the carbon credits or the article 6.2 to 6.4. All of it is actually talking about those financial arguments which we can make to offsets, for the offsets, not to reduce the emissions. So we need to reconstruct that. And for the people, because the people are the one who live in the crisis. As my peer mentioned before me, that the Lahore, it's not even hazardous, it's lethal. People are dying over there, and they are dying in great number. So we have to put the place in order, and only co-create the solution which can realize the co-benefit of stewardship of this planet, of this region. Because it is very important to save, if not all of them, at least some of them. Because we have a certain agenda in front of us. If we go like this, as the business as usual, we're going to cross those threshold limits of 2 degrees, which the planet has experienced in billions of years. If we cross that, we do not know what is coming. We still do not know what is happening and how it is happening, because the change is non-incremental now. It's incremental. If we have incremental change, the change is non-linear. It's the impacts are biblical and highest in the nature. So now we have the agenda 2023 of SDGs. We need to work on it, specifically on climate actions, because I believe that every country have a lot of policies, even Pakistan. In our NDCs, we have achieved 52% of our targets, of energy targets. And national grid is filled with renewable energy with 52%. Our target is 60%. The INDCs are missing. And I got, may the sanity prevails in this COP, but I wish they can triggerize these 1 trillion new financial goals, and the youth should ask for their fair share of development in the carbon side too, because the last update from Postom Institute is the 400 gigatons of CO2 carbon budget is actually remain, and we emitted 57 gigatons in the last year. The G7 and G20 is consuming our carbon budget too for the development in the name of everything they know, in the name of GDP and everything else. So we need to look after those resources too. So we can turn around, but in the overshoot pathway, because we are an overshoot now, because we have crossed that limit of 1.5, we need to see what are the biblical answers right in front of us. And we are in the high risk zone in the tipping points. 12 out of 16 tipping points are really active. And the last, I just want to share you this small message from my side and to my all the counterparts, specifically from the Indian side. Please, you have to look and we have to act together.
Sorry to interrupt. Is there is no voice of the video?
I'm so sorry. Didn't you hear anything?
No, no, we cannot hear anything.
My apologies. Then I played it. There's a beautiful message into it, which is telling us that the life we have today around us is very precious, and we have to value it, because the nature do not have any boundaries or any other thing. So, and and this task of finding balance have the cosmic importance. The people in 150 years from now on will remember this time, and will see us as responsible contributors to this climate change and the catastrophes we have. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and attention. I'm happy to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Talha Bhatti and Dr. Tayyaba, for sharing your insights with us. We really appreciate your valuable time and knowledge. Now we will open the floor for question answers. If anyone has a question for Dr. Tayyaba or Talha Bhatti, you can ask. You can unmute yourself or you can type your question on chat box.
Shaisa, I think I feel like there's another speaker. Tahiri is also connected with us.
Uh, uh, Sorry, I'm interrupting. We have Dr. Myra with us now. She'll speak for 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll have international speakers. Dr. Myra, are you there? Miss
Hi.
Myra, sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm here. I was just saying I'm not doctor at this
Yes,
moment.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a PhD student. So yeah,
Yes,
thank you so
please
much
proceed.
for giving me the floor and inviting me here today in this wonderful webinar. Actually, basically the purpose you guys invited me, I need to discuss about sustainable development goals and their relation with textile industry. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Aisha Qureshi. I'm a textile engineer and I'm working in a textile industry as a team lead in product development washing department. Apart from it, I'm a member of many organization and Alhamdulillah now I am the founder and CEO of MJ EcoSpin Innovation that is totally related to textile sector and related to recycling and circular economy. So whenever we talk about sustainable development, relation of sustainable development with textile industry, the first thing we need to work on traceability and we need to work on closed loop cycle. So, what is actually closed loop cycle? Closed loop cycle is something we can say if we are wearing a cloth, wearing a dress, and after that we are just wasting that, or it is just landfill. So, what we need to do, buy that garment, buy that textile product, we need to recycle that product. If we are if our recycling is related to textile material, then it is a closed loop. But apart from it, as nowadays with PET bottles we are making polyester yarn, so this is something we can say open loop recycling. How it relates to textile industry, how sustainability relates to textile industry and all the sustainable development goals. So every goal from no poverty to partnership, all the goals is directly and indirectly related to textile industry. If we talk about no poverty, and if we want to work on no poverty with respect to textile industry, what we can do, we can make some opportunities. We need to promote recycling and circular economy. In this way we generate new opportunities for the local persons as well. If we are starting many units, recycling facilities, or textile recycling facilities, so after opening those facilities, what we are actually doing, we are involving local persons, local communities, and we are providing them the job opportunities in this way. That is not properly workable in Pakistan, but if we talk about other countries, so this is implemented in many of the countries. Similarly, for the zero hunger, then if we talk about quality education is the most important thing that we need to discuss all the time respective to textile sector. Because if we want to invent something, if we want to reprocess something, and if we want to introduce sustainability in something, what is the actual need? We need to be educated, we need to be a person who have the awareness about sustainability, circularity, and our overall economy of the textile and its relation with the sustainability factor. So this is on that behalf, education is the most important factor, and even in short, we can say it is the baseline as well. I can share an example of my one of my latest development that was related to textile denim. Basically, as I told you, I am working in textile industry in product development washing department. So always I love to create denim jeans with the sustainable processes. So my most latest denim garment, what I did in that garment, I just optimized the process, and by optimizing the process, we save 73% CO2 emissions. We reduce 73% CO2 emission. And previously, like that was from the last 5 years, a conventional process was adopted there, and they were using in the same way, and they were generating a lot of CO2 emission. Apart from it, a lot of time, and even our water consumption was very high. We can say for one single garment we are using more than 200-liter waters, and after optimizing the process, the amount of water also decreases to from 200 to just 91 liter. So this is totally related to we can say education, because if we are educated, we can optimize the processes, we can utilize the things, and similarly for all other goals. And how we achieve it, even partnership is the most important factor. That is the goal 17 in it. If we have not, if we have not partners with us, then we cannot do something. If we invent this process, so our customers who support us, who said okay, we can be a partner to invent more things to optimize the processes, and we can compromise on the things, how on the shade or on the specific variations, they said us, they give us some opportunities to reduce the variation, and they accept with those variation. So this is totally depends upon the partnership. So similarly, all the goals are very interconnected with the textile industry, and directly the goals which are related to textile industries are goal 12 to goal 8 to goal 12. SDG goal 8 to goal 12. They're directly related to textile industry and even other economic sectors as well. So, in short, we can say each and every action, our action matters a lot in every sector. So, apart from it, if I am talking about myself, what I have did to overcome these things, so I just propose about recycling setup. And recently, I was selected for the 1 million leadership Asian program, and in that program, that is an international program, and in that program, I propose a project for the recycling, considering all the sustainable development goals. And in that project, our focus was converting textile waste into the valuable product. And to align all the things, all the action with sustainable development goals by the train to trainer approach. And that project was selected by Nalis Japan and Amlas, and they awarded us with a mini grant as well to start this process in the Pakistan. And Alhamdulillah, we have started it, we have implemented the things, and now soon within 1 month we will introduce some of our products as well. So this is actually a real life example and action that I have done. Similarly, always I ask to others, do whatever you want to do, and always prefer to consider sustainability in your mind. You can engage your professional life with the social life, and by considering the sustainability. So yeah, thank you so much. I think we are going short of time, so there is a lot of things to speak. But considering the time, I can give floor to back to the facilitators. Floor back to you guys. And if anyone have any question related to project, related to how textile industry and circular economy relates with each other, how all the pillars are directly linked with our textile industry and other things, or climate, what is the actual impact of textile industry on climate, feel free to ask your questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myra. We are short on time, so let's quickly move to the international speakers. I think we don't have any question at the moment. Shamim, are you there?
Yes, Myra.
Please go ahead.
Thank you for joining us today. Our guest, Talha Bhatti and Dr. Taiba and Myra has already provided invaluable insights into the climate impact in Pakistan. So offering with detailed perspectives before before we move to hearing from our international guest, so I would like to give a bit overview of to the sessions. So my co-host Shazia has briefly introduced on COP, what is COP and what is the importance of COP. So youth can bring fresh ideas and a sense of urgency to climate action, which often challenging traditional approaches and pushing for bold changes. Youth involvement in COP like Al-Qaeda, which has certainly currently happened in the Pakistan in Islamabad. So such events help set the agendas, ensuring climate justice and urgent action and stronger commitments to make a better sustainable future for our coming generations. So young people are focusing on reducing emission and building community resilience, securing climate funds for those who need it for most. So also, today this session is aligning with the SDGs goals, climate actions, with broader needs like clean energy and food security. So by building alliances, raising awareness, and using data to back their advocacy, young to climate advocates are driving attention to these issues and creating a global movement for a sustainable future. So let's move towards our guest speakers from our neighbor countries who will connect and compare climate change efforts in their respective nations. We are thrilled to have them here today. So especially considering the work we have all done in the Climate Finance Academy, including projects and other work themes. So these experiences have been invaluable in shaping our understanding of the financial mechanism that drives climate action globally. So we have two inspiring leaders here. So first, one is Tahiri Trillans. He's from Mexico and my colleague in Climate Finance Academy, and Sonam from India. So Tahiri is an urban planner from Mexico. Has worked with different organizations and like Mexican government and international organizations like UN. He is focusing on sustainable urban management, as well as Sonam is a sustainability consultant from India. She has led meaningful project in India related to climate finance, waste management, and renewable energy. And he has represented her on international platform like COP28. So first of all, we will try to start our guest from our Tahiri. So Tahiri, it's over to you.
Excuse me, before Mr. Tahiri, you start, I just want to know something because here we have some participants from across the, not across the, but from the different part of the world. So my question from all the international participants is that you can include my question in your briefing or in whatever you are giving presentation or whatever. So question is that uh, do you think that being a media person, my question, what you say, is there any sort of revolution needed in a media side regarding the climate change? Because media is not taking so much serious this particular issue here in Pakistan as well as in India and the other part of the world. Being a media person, I'm a head of Global Media Network here in Pakistan. I served in different state TV and I had launched different TV channels here in Pakistan. So I know uh, we never have the priority. We never have given the priority to the climate issues. Although we have a ministry here in Pakistan, but ministry is not working properly. Although we have uh, so much consultancies working here in Pakistan, but even then, there is not a specific work done regarding this particular issue. So, what you say, uh, what is happening or what is going on in your countries? Because Pakistan is very pathetic. So, I want to know what is what is the achievement and what are the
Uh,
initiatives taking by
Excuse
your
me.
country or yes.
Okay,
Let's
Ahmed sir. Thank you. So we will move forward to you after the session on it. So Tahiri, let's forward to you.
Thank you. I will answer. I have many answers for that questions, and it's very interesting, and I will tackle that in the presentation. So don't worry, it will be. Before I start, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who joined the COP29 session and Climate Policy webinar organized by Next Gen Forum for SDGs. It is a true honor to be part of this platform where young environmentalists, climate activists, and stakeholders come together to discuss climate change mitigation strategies, COP29 objectives, and the path towards sustainable development. A special thank you to my fellow panelists, Sona Maheshwari, Talha Tufail, Bari, Dr. Tayyaba Masood, and Mayra Nawas. And also, appreciate the thoughtful moderation of Shamin Baik, Abna Shehazdi. Sorry for the presentation, for how I introduce your names. Maybe some are wrong, but well, as the core members, Anum Amir, Sasha Batul, and Isna Akram for their hard work and making this session a success. I know we are shaping the future of youth leadership in climate policy and contributing to the development of meaningful agendas and pre-COP 2030. Thank you once again for your commitment to a more sustainable and climate resilient world. Um, After this, I want to make a small presentation. And as Ahmed Sagir made some questions about, with Shamim, we try to introduce what is the challenges and what is this vision between Mexico and Pakistan. I know we are from different parts of the world, and it's very interesting how we should start the conversation. So just let me ask you if you can see my presentation, if you can see my screen. Can you confirm that for me?
Yes, yes, Tari, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. So for me, this presentation, it's all about to discuss the impacts of climate change and compare Mexico and Pakistan strategies, and also for recommendations for collaboration. I think it's very important, as at the beginning of this session, everyone says that it's important to start
Tahri, I think it's
collaborating.
your screen is same as mine. It's black. So
It's black. Um, can you confirm you can see the? I'm gonna share it again, and you can confirm if you can see. It should be like a front page about climate change. Please, I see that it's presenting.
Yes, yes, I can see.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So we have to start from basics, and for me, is where we are, and this is very important because we should understand where is Mexico, where is Pakistan about population. We have half of the population you have in Pakistan. Your growth rate is more than the double. Our growth rate is 0.7, and your growth rate in Pakistan is 1.86%. And the median age, you are younger in 22 years approximately, and we are 8 years older, as a median age of 30 years old. Our area is a little bit more than the double of yours, and our urban population is 81% compared with Pakistan that is 38%. As you know, the main cities is Karachi and Lahore, and here in Mexico is Mexico City and Monterrey. Our climate varies from tropical to desert, and in Pakistan is more desert, temperate in the northwest and Arctic in the north. And in natural resources, we produce in Mexico petroleum, silver, antimony, copper, gold, lead, zinc, natural and timber, natural gas and timber. And in Pakistan, I understand is mostly arable land and extensive natural gas reserves. So we are in different sides of the world, but we share a lot. One of the things that I was thinking before doing this presentation is we face unique climate risk, and we should blend policy innovation, community adaptation, and technology-driven solutions to strengthen and ensure sustainable futures. And besides that is how we start building this dialogue, how we start in the media, how we start posting all this information and start the discussion with our family, with our community, and how we start building like a resilient community. In Mexico, the temperature has increased in almost 1.2 centigrades, and that has amazing problems in aggravating droughts and biodiversity loss. We almost invest $4.5 billion in damages related to hurricanes. And compared with Pakistan, the Pakistani temperature has not increased too much, like 0.6 centigrades, but it's a huge problem with the intensifying heat waves and also with the glacial melt, which includes also $3.8 billion invested in annual flood-related damages. In our major cities, and I will focus in major cities because my formation it's on urbanism, city planning, and the master's I hold is in climate change, is related with water pollution from raw sewage, industrial wastages, and agricultural runoff, limited natural freshwater resources, and also soil deforestation, soil erosions, deforestation, desertification, and air pollution and noise pollution. Those are the main problems we all share, like between Mexico and Pakistan. And how we see what is this impact and why should we be discussing that? What would be the discussion? In Mexico, we are talking about the stream droughts, which 85 of our land areas are vulnerable for these stream droughts, and also impacts for 40 million people, which is more than 1/3 of our population. We have 9 to 15 tropical storms annually, which more than 4 to 5 are turning into hurricanes. And we have an amazing biodiversity loss of 1.2 due to deforestation, urban development, and also we have a specific problem, and I did not look for that. I did not have how it is in Pakistan, but in Mexico we have a problem with the organized crime and narco traffic, as you may know. And also is that that is a huge problem for governance and how to implement other projects. In Pakistan, I understand the impacts of climate change focus in flooding, that in 2022 you have a huge flood that was almost like submerged 1/3 of the country, and 33 million people were displaced. And it was like a massive problem in Pakistan. Also, you hold almost 7,000 glaciers that are jeopardized by the increase of the weather, and the water security that you like the main supply of water in Pakistan is related with these glaciers, and also an agriculture impact that 37 of the Pakistan's workforce is related with these agriculture jobs. And this is a reduction that is happening annually. So just to put in both sides how our countries work and how this policy and governance should be approached. Um, I understand that we face distinct challenges. Mexico excels in sustainable urban planning because we hold 85% of our population is in cities, and also in the carbon reduction goals. Yet we have problems with narco traffic, organized crimes, but fossil fuels threaten also our progress. Pakistan has also a very amazing platform and a project that is called 10 Billion Trees Tsunami and Glacial Resilience Projects that demonstrate a strong environmental commitment. But
It
the
was more.
problem or the
It was
main,
in media. It was more in media than in reality because there was a political government behind this. Sorry to interrupt you.
don't worry, it's okay. But I mean, I saw this, and this is the information we received from Pakistan, at least here in Mexico, and how from Mexico we see Pakistan. And we see that there is still a lot of implementation gaps in these programs, and particularly in flood-prone areas. So also in part of the policy governance, we see that there is a strong governance commitment, but there is still a lot of gaps in the implementation, and also about the funding. We are a developing country, same as Pakistan, but we benefit from international partnerships for this climate action. We struggle with the policy consistency and the resource limitations, even though we have different challenges. So what should I say about this? I mean, for me, everything is about the community and building a strong community that can face the problems with an informed community. And I know in Mexico and in Pakistan, we have indigenous and local communities that they already have local knowledge and systems that from thousands of years, they have been adapting to this nature. But it's like key to understand and to integrate indigenous and local communities to this conversation, because they already have been doing these sustainable practices, but in this new era of this rapid economic change and globalization has been left behind. Also, these community center approaches focus on the difference. Since Mexico is mostly urban, we in the cities we have more solutions, but in Pakistan they also have a very high concentration rural areas. So for me, it's very important to tackle these two problems in different ways with a different approach for these different communities. In urban areas, for example, is related with air pollution, water, waste management, and infrastructure. And in the rural areas, is more related with agriculture. And these vulnerabilities related with all these people that may be displaced with this change or with this climate change. And for me, one important thing, and it's key also in communication, and it's key also to build a strong community, is youth engagement. I think they have, and we have a strong commitment with these challenges, but also we have a voice as a community. And we have these things that is essential to reshape the future. We are eager to innovate, but also we have this we have been grown in this technological change, and we know how technology works, so we can use it towards our advantage. So I think it's very, very important to have a community-centered approach and to start the discussion inside the community and to see how we can work inside our community and have, you know, many of my friends have been working on communities, and they just open up Instagram account or a TikTok account and start sharing their insight. And you know, opening an Instagram account, opening a TikTok account counts $0, $0. So it's very easy to start engaging with people. And as we meet, I met Shamim Bai in this Climate Finance Academy, I think it's very easy to start building ties. So how is this finance and international support? And I made this presentation also to show that we both have projects. One of our main funding ally is the Green Climate Fund, and we have allocated 120 million budget for sustainable land management, while Pakistan has this glacial lake outburst floods project, which is allocated 37 million budget. As you know, we also have in Mexico private investment in renewable energy.
It's in
dollars.
Okay.
It's in dollar. It's in dollars to be comparable. So we have more investment, but also in Pakistan, I think it's important to look for more funds and to start downloading more money. So we have a common path. We come a common path. I think while Mexico, Pakistan, we face the challenges. Our goal is related with agriculture, urban resilience, and biodiversity. And I think what Mexico can give to Pakistan, and we are eager to share, is our experience in sustainable urban planning and renewable energy development, which I think it's very important as your cities are growing in an intense rate to start planning and to start this city planning and urban development. And also, similarly, like what should Pakistan teach Mexico? Or I mean, what we should learn from Pakistan is your expertise in community-based flood resilience. As you know, Mexico in our coasted, we are very vulnerable to this flood. So, and also in reforestation, I think you have this project of 10 billion tree tsunami, but also you can offer a model to Mexico how you work with the rural areas and how this struggle with deforestation, how you are tackling with the water management. So I think we can start sharing information. And for the last presentation or for the last slide, I would like to share with you what, for me in particular, and for Mexico, should be these actionable steps for the next decade, how we should interact, Mexico and Pakistan start building these ties. And for me, particularly, is the policy reforms that we should do immediately. Also, how we start sharing information about community engagement. I know we come from different cultural codes and we come from also from a different culture. In Mexico, we are mostly we are mostly Christians. Me personally, I'm Jew, but I mean, 80% of Mexico is Christian. And in Pakistan, most of the country is Muslim. So we have different religions, we have different cultural codes, but I think the most important thing is how we can share information to engage with community. Also about how to download this money from the international cooperation and the infrastructure investment. We can share best practices. We have a lot of private investment in infrastructure, and we can share these policy reforms. I see as a network of sharing knowledge. And from both countries, at least here in Mexico, we have the Latin American and Caribbean Climate Change Network, which is like the main point, like from where we can share with you. And I think you are in the South Asian Association for the regional climate change. So I think it's very important to have these actionable steps very clear. I would like to extend more, and of course I have a lot of information about both countries, but I try to make it very simple for everyone to understand what are these differences and how we can collaborate and how this make this actionable, at least to share information. And in more complex ways, we should start designing our future through community engagement and start the discussion in our communities. That's how, for me, I'm very happy, and thank you a lot for the invitation to this forum. I mean, for me in Mexico, I started at 5 a.m. because the time changed. But I think for me, it's very important to be here in these places to share information with you and to exchange what we know and learn from you. So thank you very much. Thank you for everything. I see as a community committing to long-term community-centered policies and combining local wisdom, international support, and robust policy reforms. So for me, thank you very much. Gracias en español. And I wait for your questions. I will try to answer in the chat, and I open up for the next participant. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tari. Thank you, Tari. I have witnessed about you are passionate about the climate change. So and so thank you for focusing on and comparing the climates of both countries. I hope this information proves helpful for the participants in these sessions to gaining insights into the climate condition of these two different countries. Now we move forward to our next speakers. Sonam, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all. So hello everyone, namaste and assalamu alaikum to my neighbors, my lovely neighbors. So today I'm honored to be here and represent India and more broadly the global South. And as Mr. Tala, emphasized in his presentation that we should collaborate and we should be one apart from our obvious political differences. So throughout the presentation, I'll be providing you a lot of challenges and solutions for Indian region and Indian data. However, I would request you to take it as global South and of course being India, Pakistan together because we have same problems and same solutions to at least to the climate change part. So I'll be presenting my screen now.
Yes, Sonam, you can share.
Is it visible?
No. Yeah, it's
It's
visible to us. Yes,
visible, right?
yes.
Yeah. So now starting with, I'm Sonam Maheshwari. I'm a sustainability consultant and a co-founder of Constructivist, which is a sustainability-based consultancy in India, and we have been working in India and abroad to combat climate change and work towards sustainability. So today I'll be focusing more on the topic of climate change and the inequality we have in the global south. The challenges that countries like mine, and when I say mine, I refer to the whole global south face, are vastly different from those in Western nations. As we move forward towards COP right now, and this is again a pre-COP event, we must bring these differences into focus to ensure that our collective response to the climate crisis is not only effective but also fair. Today, I'll be talking about how historical emissions, economic factors, development needs, policy approaches, and climate finance requirements differ between the global south and Western countries. And today, my goal is basically to help us understand that while we share the same planet, our climate realities vary significantly, and our response must account for this diversity. Uh, so again, the basic issue, climate change may be a global issue, but its impacts are anything but unequal. So coming on to historical emissions, I hope my slides are moving on. If anyone
Yes, yes.
confirm,
Yes, Sonam.
the
Yes, we
slides,
can see
right?
you increasing.
So historical responsibility and emissions. So to begin, let's look at the root of climate change, and it's of course the greenhouse gas emissions. So developed countries have a long history of industrialization, contributing to a large share of economic emissions in the atmosphere today. According to the Global Carbon Project, the United Nations alone accounts for around 25% of the cumulative CO2 emissions since the start of the industrial era, while the European Union adding approximately 22%, whereas in contrast, the Indian region has contributed only 3%. Uh, so this is a graph which kind of gives you an outlook of the same. However, despite of this historical contribution, India is the third largest emitter today due to its large population and of course growing energy needs. However, our per capita emissions tell a different story. While the United Nations emit around 14.2 tons of carbon dioxide per person per year, the European Union averages around 6.4 tons. India's per capita emissions are only 1.9 tons. So this disparity highlights the imbalance. Countries like mine, the countries in the south, global south, are expected to curb emissions while still struggling to meet their basic development needs. We are still developing countries, and we also have very underdeveloped countries as well. So these historical emissions are critical in climate negotiations because they shape the principle of, the common but differentiated responsibilities. A core tenet of COP that argues nations should act based on both their historical contributions and current capacities. So moving on, we have the socio-economic vulnerability and impact. So, for countries like India, Pakistan, climate change is not just an environmental issue. It's also a threat to our development and social stability. So, around 60% of global South population relies on agriculture, and especially India and Pakistan are top competitors in it. So, which is highly vulnerable to this climate shocks and climate change. A very recent report by the Indian Ministry of Earth Sciences highlights that India has experienced a 22% increase in extreme weather events over past 50 years. So these include floods, droughts, heat waves that directly threaten our food security and livelihoods. So also according to the World Bank, climate change could push over almost 132 million people worldwide into poverty by 2030. So we are already facing such a huge issue in our underdeveloped or developing countries about poverty. So a significant of portion of these people will be from countries like India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, where large segments of populations are already economical vulnerable. So for instance, in 2019, India recorded over 14,000 deaths due to extreme heat. Prolonged heat waves are not only increase in mortality rates, but also affect agriculture productivity, labor output, and even threatening our livelihoods in rural and urban areas. However, in comparison, while Western countries do face climate impacts, they often have stronger social safety. So they have advanced infrastructure to buffer against these changes. So this means that climate change poses an existential crisis to our development trajectory, and a fact that must be, a central in our climate policy discussions at COP. So these are again the economies losses due to climate change in India, global South, European nations, and United States. Then coming down to energy. So energy is the backbone of development, and here again the challenges differ significantly between the global South and the Western countries. India is still on the path of providing universal access to electricity. Almost around 200 million people in India still lack reliable access to power. So in contrast with Western countries, they have achieved almost near universal electricity access decades ago. So currently, coal accounts for about 55% of India's energy mix. This reliance on coal is not just by choice, but it is necessary. Renewable energy is, of course, our priority, and we have set, ambitious targets aiming to reach about 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. But the cost of infrastructure requirements for this transition are immense. So to give you an idea, the International Energy Agency, IEA, estimates that the global south would need around 14.4 trillion investment over the next decade to meet its clean energy goals. So by comparison, the European Union generates about 38% of its electricity from renewables, and the United Nations generate about 20%. So, of course, Western nations are also leading in advanced energy technologies like carbon capture and storage. So, the difference here is that while the global north is working to reduce the emissions from already high baseline, countries like India and Pakistan are trying to increase energy access and reduce emissions simultaneously. So, again, my question is like, can India and the global South afford the same rate of decarbonization without compromising on our basic development or to become a developed country? So, like now we would understand like where is the basic difference comes in. So most difference comes in the climate policy approaches we have. So our approach is fundamentally shaped by the development needs. While Western countries often prioritize the net zero targets, which they have already committed in COP or in UN. So our policies focus on sustainable growth. For instance, like India's National Action Plan uh, on climate change includes mission for solar energy, energy efficiency, sustainable agriculture, sustainable infrastructure. So our commitments under Paris Agreement include reducing emissions intensity by 50% by 2030. So, and relying on generation of renewable electricity. However, in the global north, Western countries have largely focused on achieving net zero emission targets. And they have heavily invested into technological solutions to reduce emissions. A prime example is the push of carbon capture and storage technologies. Many countries in the global north, including the European Union and the United States, have set ambitious timelines to reach net zero emissions. So they kind of have targeted 2050 to go completely net zero. So if like European Union aims to cut emissions by 55% by 2030, and 2030 is like around the corner when you look at such a larger goal. So while these targets are essential, they heavily depend on advancements of technology. We know Germany is, the hub of technology and innovations, which are certainly costly in terms of when it comes to global South countries. And moreover, despite of ambitious targets that India or Global South have already put in, there are a lot of challenges that are coming in. So one is, of course, the substantial external support. So again, we have political differences, we have topographical differences. In not even global south, if we come down only even to Southeast Asia. So those also add on to, as a challenge to achieve our goals to become net zero or to become sustainable. So last year, I had the opportunity to be at COP28 at Dubai. And one thing that I have noticed that India has consistently advocated of the principle of climate justice. So we do believe that burden of mitigating climate change should not fall disproportionately on countries that are still developing. So that is why the Global South emphasizes the need of climate finance and technology transfer issues, and that are often sidelined in the global climate discussions because, of course, they are dominated much more by Western perspectives. So this is one of the, I would say, a comparison of the policies, what we look at. So we have bottom 50%, middle 40%, at top 10 and top 1%. So how these have include, these factors include in the climate policy part, and what we are lacking around or what we have differentiated. So next is role of climate finance. I feel the previous speaker has already kind of touched on this point, but of course I would like to, of course, make another point is this. So climate finance is a critical topic, especially for the global south. So developed nations have pledged to, mobilize $100 billion annually by 2020 to help developing countries tackle climate change. However, this target was never met. So in 2022, the total climate finance mobilized was estimated to be around 83 billion, while only a fraction reaching to the most vulnerable countries. So as I think Ahmed sir was talking about, like we see a lot of greenwashing, like media did like it was proposed that something was done, but it never done. And we also work with many South African countries in constructivist, and we do know that these grants are not, not utilized. They are just bypassed. So for India alone, it's estimated that the country will need over 2.5 trillion dollars by 2030 to meet its climate goals. So without adequate financial support, countries like mine and yours, and again being what we say in Sanskrit is Vasudev Kutumbakam, being one earth, one family, we are forced to make difficult, trade-offs, often compromising between climate action and our essential development investments like in healthcare, education, and infrastructure. So this is why we are pushing for stronger commitments to climate finance at COP. So it's not just about, fulfilling a promise from the Western countries, but it is also about enabling the global south to participate meaningfully in the global transition to a low carbon future. So this is again a graph kind of telling you, giving a mitigation and adaptation funds. So of course, I feel all of you are well versed with the terms mitigation and adaptation, but I would still kind of have a brief on it. Mitigation is when you kind of work on to make things better when it's have already gotten worse. So like climate change, so emissions like fuel emissions from coal, we are mitigating it through solar or renewable power energies. However, adaptation is when it's like the prevention is better than cure. So adaptation is when you start working before something has went wrong. However, if you see, we are not at the stage where we can start investing in adaptation because we are not even, uh, you know, uh, enough for mitigation as of now. So now, again, adaptation needs in India and Western countries. So there's a huge, I think we are pretty short of time, so maybe I'll just share my presentation afterwards and brief you on this. So while much of the global disclosure focuses on emission reduction, countries like us need urgent support for adaptation. So the UN Environment Program, UNEP, estimates that adaptation costs for developing countries could reach almost 140 to 300 billion per year by 2030. And for India itself, it includes investments in flood defenses, drought resistant agriculture, and coastal protection. So Western countries have the resources to focus heavily on mitigation and also going adaptation equally. But we are already facing the impacts of climate change, and without adaptation and the human economic cost, we are staggering. So our voice at COP and at global level will has to advocate for a balanced approach that gives adaptation the attention it deserves. Uh, So, there are gaps in climate vulnerability, we have water stress, disaster resilience, we are infrastructure deficient as of now. Again, financial constraints are another big problem we have. Then technological gap, of course, we have best of minds, but it gets brain drained. We have, again, capacity building. We need to provide, information and education to our people. And urbanization and adaptation, we are still into the urbanization mode. We have not achieved 100% of urbanization as of now. And of course, like insurance, climate insurance, which again we are lagging behind a lot. So next is your technological transfer and capacity building. So again, we don't have access, to green technology as of now as Western countries have. Although, if you look at the world and if you look at the major companies, the CEOs and the CFOs and the CTOs are from Asian region or South Asia, global South. But again, we are kind of working for them and not for us. So technologies like wind turbines, solar panels, electric vehicles are, it would help us decarbonizing our economics. However, these technologies are often very expensive and also they're patented, making them less accessible for developing nations. Also, now you would have come up with, strategy that the Western have taken up, that they are not manufacturing at their own places, but they are outsourcing their mega factories which produce the carbon emissions to the global south. So we have India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Thailand, all of us, like we manufacture from them and they say like, again, they are carbon free because they're not manufacturing it, we are for them. So we need to take, stronger steps to, kind of, so again, there are, we have now the calculation, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, Europeans have CBAM, the carbon taxation mechanism. So I think there should be policies and frameworks that actually account these Western countries for their deeds and not, kind of have it on us. Now coming down to almost like what we are here for. So today our session is basically about, youth leadership in climate policy. So it's like it's the basics we are looking at. So youth across the globe are demanding climate action, but their priorities often differ. So for us in India or Pakistan, our youth activists are more focused on basics like water security, air pollution, sustainable agriculture, because we are lagging at the root causes. So they're pushing for practical solutions that address immediate needs while building resilience. While meanwhile, in the Western countries, youth movements often emphasize rapid decarbonization. So here also, like at Constructivist, recently we had someone from London, and they are working on building energy efficient buildings on Mars, while we are not even able to make a normal building henceforth. So that's the huge difference on ground. So again, young professionals like me and you, we are making significant strides in implementing practical, localized solutions while contributing to global sustainability goals, of course. So again, we at Constructivist, we are empowering the next generation of leaders and innovators by providing the tools and knowledge and partnerships. So we have a program called Sustainability Launchpad, where we kind of train and knowledge transfer sustainability related skills uh, to youth. We have done events in G20. We have tied up with South African nations and Africa-wide nations to provide such capacity building tools and informative sessions. Our work also spans from life cycle assessment to decarbonization strategies. So I think just before that, Mahira had, talked about textile industry and it being a renewable industry and converting it to renewable energy. At Constructivist, we had got a chance to have a practical experience on this, where we have done multiple projects. But one of the, I would say, most innovative project I could say is a sock, like a pair of socks life cycle assessment. So we could understand, like even a sock, how much emissions, how much water resources, air resources, land degradation it can cause. And of course, the recycling part. I totally agree with Myra that we need to have recycling strategies and frameworks, because even I feel the frameworks that we have already come up, or let's say the West have come up, is kind of not including all the sins. And also a major difference that I find out, a major lag we have in the Indian region or global South region is the lack of data. We don't have data. So I feel whatever we project is like even almost 17 to 20 times more, because we are using the European or the American database. So there is a strong, need on the ground level or as professional level to have the databases and to have strategies and, on ground goals that can actually reflect and not just be, a projection. So again, I would, extend an opportunity to Talha and Myra, if we could work together on something and bring up some kind of data for just textile industry also works as a starting point. Also, like again, as it is a pre-COP event, so we are approaching COP, and let's remember that these negotiations an opportunity for global solidarity. The principle of common but differentiated responsibilities was established at COP itself to address the historical and economical realities I have discussed today. So pre-COP events like this is like we that allow us to set the agenda, ensuring that the voices of the global South are amplified, and we need commitments that reflect fairness and justice. The outcome of the COP will obviously shape the lives of millions, and it's almost 29 years that it is happening continuously, and it's kind of our duty to make sure that no one is left behind, especially us. Where do we live? Where we are. And so in the closing, I would say the climate crisis is a global challenge. So, but its impact and solutions vary greatly. Like Western countries have resources to aggressively pursue decarbonization, But countries like us, the path forward is much more complex. We do need support to reduce emissions and adapt climate impacts and ensure our people's well-being. And let's make COP a turning point for global equity and equality. Let's secure commitments that respect the unique needs and capabilities of each nation, because only by working together, and again I would take I would give the whole credit to begin this collaboration kind of impression from Tala, and working together with fairness and of course solidarity. And I think we can have a sustainable future together. So if you want to reach out to me and like have any questions, you can always have contact me or have my mail. And if there are any questions and if the time permits, I am open for those. Also, just a second, Sami. I think Ahmad Sarif is still here.
Okay.
I would like to answer his questions also.
Oh,
Uh, so he kind of
I'm
emphasized
here.
on the role of
Yes.
media. So,
okay, Ahmed.
sir, basically, my basic answer as an Indian, I would say, would be if we, give even 10% of whatever footage we give to differences in India, Pakistan, politics, or such that, to climate-related issues and on-ground issues, I think we would mobilize a huge community to work for a better thing. So I think we have I think Tahir would understand, but we have a lot of mirch masala in our news from both ends. And if we just reduce 10% of it from an entertainment point of view also, we will be able to achieve something great together.
Yes, of course. And I have already written in the question box that on this platform, we as a philanthropists and provider news providers, I can offer you here to the organizers that I we have capacity rather. We can provide you and we can give you a good TV channel. We can donate you guys equipment in the shape of equipment or equipment with a technical support. So we are here to facilitate you as well as to work with you and to make you more, perfect and more powerful. Because in this century, media is this is the only entity on this earth who can make the guilty innocent and innocent guilty. So
Right.
this is the power of the media. So why don't you guys, and why don't you people, and why don't the organizations who are working in this regard, they're not taking media as serious, and they're not taking it as a tool of change, because media can provide so many things like if you book some campaign, or if you start some campaign on media, you can have a very good social mobilization, interactive sessions, interactive programs, or etc. So I think there can be a lot to be done, but this is not
Uh, Sir, I'll just like to answer that as well. So basically, media is of course the most powerful tool we know, but it's also about the audience, the viewers. So climate change or such topics are, at times seemed as boring. So of course, people here are already interested into something who have spent 2 hours of them learning about it.
Sonam,
However,
let me
yeah,
add something. Sorry to interrupt you. I
yeah,
just want to add something. We had started here in Pakistan the development journalism. This is first time here in Pakistan. We had started working on it now. So it was very like a very dry topic, and people do not take interest in this regard. So what we have we started making story in a attractive way. So there are so many ways. Maybe most of you they knew the Urdu. There is a man, there is a poet named as Saifuddin Saif. He said, "There is nothing new. Only the way of talking can be changed. सैफ अंदाजे भी रंग बदल देता है दुनिया में, कोई बात नहीं. So the how you will present your, the whatever idea you have, if you will put it in a interesting way, if you will put it in a storytelling way, people will start watching this. Of course, this is a new era. This is a new century. Uh, Before some, if you will go in 90s, the uh, the television operators, they had decided, and the policymakers decided what they want to show you. But now you want to choose, and this is your choice, that what you want to see. So this is the difference now. Of course, we have to make programming what people want according to their will and their wish. Of course, I agree with you.
Okay, Matt. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your precious word. And also, I agree with Sonam's. Both Pakistan and India are facing similar climate challenges, and urgent action is needed to address the climate emergency, as Ahmed Sarai has also shared about the importance of media and climate change. So I hope that in future we can tackle this together. So here I would like to hear in my area, Chatham Valley, glacier mantle has increased by 70% these years. So which is an alarming sign for all of us. So we should do things on it. So again, I thankful for all the participants for being here, especially our guests, speakers Tahiri, Zonam, Dr. Taiba, Talhavai, and Maria, Maira. And also special thanks to our organizing teams, head Shiraz and their teams for concluding the session and to make it successful. So we will now open the floor for a question and answering session. If anyone has any question or would like to share something, please feel free to do so. So we have one hand raised. Abbas Ali Shikri says, over to you. Yes, Abbas, it's over to you. Do you have any question right now? Okay, okay. If anybody have questions, you can ask. And after if other, no, I over to the session to our co-host, Madam Amina. Yes, Amina, it's over to you. Amina, are you there?
Shamim, can
Yes.
I add something into this?
Yes, yes, Talab. Yes, you can.
Okay, I just wanted to say that, Sadam, I totally understand your message, and we can collab together. But just wanted to be very humble for this kindness and this open approach. And why not? Let's build capacity in both ways, which is necessary, and
Done.
to the level where it is needed. So
Done.
my doors are always open, and you can access me. I think we are connected, so let's stay connected.
So I think I would just also drop my LinkedIn on the chat so that even Amber sir or anyone else who wants to connect and let's have a fruitful discussion forward. I think Tala and I are already connected on the LinkedIn platform. So yeah, that would be a great start and let's build and overcome the biases of our political differences.
Okay, okay, Sonam and all of the participants to being here. So it's we should sum up the session here. So we'll see you again in next sessions with a fruitful information and a beautiful guest. Thank you all of you to being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, Khuda Hafiz.
हेलो, कैसा था ये बताओ? मैंने स्लो फ्लो में बहुत ज्यादा बकवास कर दी क्या? हेलो हेलो
Hello, Sonam. Yes.
हेलो
तेरी ऐसी की तेरी